Commentary on Habakkuk. This well-preserved and detailed exposition of the first two chapters of the book of Habakkuk comes from the Dead Sea Scrolls found in Cave 1. Oracle of Habakkuk, the prophet. How long, O Lord, shall I cry for help, and thou wilt not hear? Interpreted, this concerns the beginning of the final generation. Bits missing. Or shout to thee violence, and thou wilt not deliver. Bits missing. Why dost thou cause me to see iniquity, and to look upon trouble? Desolation and violence are before me. Bits missing. God with oppression and unfaithfulness. Bits missing. They rob riches. There is quarrelling and contention. Bits missing. So the law is weak and justice never goes forth. Interpreted, this concerns those who have despised the law of God. Bits missing. For the wicked encompasses the righteous. The wicked is the wicked priest, and the righteous is the teacher of righteousness. So justice goes forth, perverted. Bits missing. Behold the nations and see, marvel, and be astonished. For I accomplish a deed in your days, but you will not believe it when told. Interpreted, this concerns those who were unfaithful together with the liar, in that they did not listen to the word received by the teacher of righteousness from the mouth of God, and it concerns the unfaithful of the new covenant, in that they have not believed in the covenant of God, and have profaned his holy name. And likewise, this saying is to be interpreted as concerning those who will be unfaithful at the end of days. They, the men of violence, and the breakers of the covenant, will not believe when they hear all that is to happen to the final generation, from the priest, in whose heart God set understanding, that he might interpret all the words of his servants, the prophets, through whom he foretold all that would happen to his people and his land. For behold, I rouse the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation. Interpreted, this concerns the Kittim, who are quick and valiant in war, causing many to perish. All the world shall fall under the dominion of the Kittim and the wicked. Bits missing. They shall not believe in the laws of God. Bits missing. Who march through the breadth of the earth to take possession of dwellings which are not their own. Bits missing. They shall march across the plain, smiting and plundering the cities of the earth. For it is as he said, to take possession of dwellings which are not their own. They are fearsome and terrible. Their justice and grandeur proceed from themselves. Interpreted, this concerns the Kittim, who inspire all the nations with fear and dread. All their evil plotting is done with intention, and they deal with all the nations in cunning and guile. Their horses are swifter than leopards, and fleeter than evening wolves. Their horses step forward proudly and spread their wings. They fly from afar like an eagle, avid to devour. All of them come for violence. The look on their faces is like the east wind. Interpreted, this concerns the Kittim, who trample the earth with their horses and beast. They come from afar, from the islands of the sea, to devour all the peoples like an eagle, which cannot be satisfied, and they address all the peoples with anger and wrath and fury and indignation, for it is as he said, the look on their faces is like the east wind. They heap up captives like sand. Bits missing. They scoff at kings, and princes are their laughingstock. Interpreted, this means that they mock the great and despise the venerable. They ridicule kings and princes and scoff at the mighty host. They laugh at every fortress. They pile up earth and take it. Interpreted, this concerns the commanders of the Kittim, who despise the fortresses of the peoples and laugh at them in derision to capture them. They encircle them with a mighty host, and out of fear and terror they deliver themselves into their hands. They destroy them because of the sins of their inhabitants. The wind then sweeps on and passes, and they make of their strength their God. Interpreted, this concerns the commanders of the Kittim, who on the council of the house of guilt pass one in front of the other, one after another. Their commanders come to lay waste the earth, and they make of their strength their God. Interpreted, this concerns, bits missing, all the peoples. Bits missing. Art thou not from everlasting, O Lord my God, my Holy One? We shall not die. Thou hast ordained them, O Lord, for judgment. Thou hast established them, O Rock, for chastisement. Their eyes are too pure to behold evil, and thou canst not look on distress. Interpreted, this saying means that God will not destroy his people by the hand of the nations. God will execute the judgment of the nations by the hand of his elect, and through their chastisement all the wicked of his people shall expiate their guilt, who keep his commandments in their distress. For it is as he said, too pure of eyes to behold evil. Interpreted, this means that they have not lusted after their eyes during the age of wickedness. O traitors, why do you stare and stay silent when the wicked swallows up one more righteous than he? Interpreted, this concerns the house of Absalom and the members of its council who were silent at the time of the chastisement of the teacher of righteousness, and gave him no help against the liar who flouted the law in the midst of their whole congregation. Thou dealest with men like the fish of the sea, like creeping things to rule over them. They draw them all up with a fish hook, and drag them out with their net, and gather them in their sen. Therefore they sacrifice to their net. Therefore they rejoice, and exult, and burn incense to their sen. For by them their portion is fat, and their sustenance rich. Bits missing. The kitten, and they shall gather in their riches together with all their booty, like the fish of the sea. And as for that which he said, therefore they sacrifice to their net, and burn incense to their sen. Interpreted, this means that they sacrifice to their standards and worship their weapons of war. For by them their portion is fat, and their sustenance rich. Interpreted, this means that they divide their yoke and their tribute, their sustenance, over all the peoples, year by year, ravaging many lands. Therefore, their sword is ever drawn to massacre nations mercilessly. Interpreted, this concerns the Kittim, who cause many to perish by the sword, youths, grown men, the aged, women and children, and who even take no pity on the fruit of the womb. I will take my stand to watch, and will station myself upon my fortress. I will watch to see what he will say to me, and how he will answer my complaints. And the Lord answered and said to me, write down the vision, and make it plain upon the tablets, that he who reads may read it speedily. Bits missing. And God told Habakkuk to write down that which would happen to the final generation, but he did not make known to him when time would come to an end. And as for that which he said, that he who reads may read it speedily. Interpreted, this concerns the teacher of righteousness, to whom God made known all the mysteries of the words of his servants, the prophets. For there shall be yet another vision concerning the appointed time. It shall tell of the end, and shall not lie. Interpreted, this means that the final age shall be prolonged, and shall exceed all that the prophets have said. For the mysteries of God are astounding. If it tarries, wait for it shall surely come, and shall not be late. Interpreted, this concerns the men of truth who keep the law, whose hands shall not slacken in the service of truth when the final age is prolonged. For all the ages of God reach their appointed end, as he determines for them in the mysteries of his wisdom. Behold, his soul is puffed up and is not upright. Interpreted, this means that the wicked shall double their guilt upon themselves, and it shall not be forgiven when they are judged. It's missing. But the righteous shall live by his faith. Interpreted, this concerns all those who observe the law in the house of Judah, whom God will deliver from the house of judgment because of their suffering and because of their faith in the teacher of righteousness. Moreover, the arrogant man seizes wealth without halting. He widens his gullet like hell and like death. He has never enough. All the nations are gathered to him, and all the peoples are assembled to him. Will they not all of them taunt him and jeer at him, saying, Woe to him who amasses that which is not his? How long will he load himself up with pledges? Interpreted, this concerns the wicked priest who was called by the name of truth when he first arose. But when he ruled over Israel, his heart became proud, and he forsook God, and betrayed the precepts for the sake of riches. He robbed and amassed the riches of the men of violence, who rebelled against God, and he took the wealth of the peoples, heaping sinful iniquity upon himself. And he lived in the ways of abominations, amidst every unclean defilement. Shall not your oppressors suddenly arise, and your torturers awaken? And shall you not become their prey? Because you have plundered many nations, all the remnant of the peoples shall plunder you. Interpreted, this concerns the priest who rebelled and violated the precepts of God, bits missing, to command his chastisement by means of the judgments of wickedness, and they inflicted horrors of evil diseases, and took vengeance upon his body of flesh. And as for that which he said, because you have plundered many nations, all the remnant of the peoples shall plunder you. Interpreted, this concerns the last priest of Jerusalem, who shall amass money and wealth by plundering the peoples. But in the last days their riches and booty shall be delivered into the hands of the army of the Kittim, for it is they who shall be the remnant of the peoples. Because of the blood of men and the violence done to the land, to the city, and to all its inhabitants. Interpreted, this concerns the wicked priest whom God delivered into the hands of his enemies because of the iniquity committed against the teacher of righteousness, and the men of his council, that he might be humbled by means of a destroying scourge in bitterness of soul, because he had done wickedly to his elect. Woe to him who gets evil profit for his house, who purchased his nest high to be safe from the hand of evil. You have devised shame to your house. By cutting off many peoples, you have forfeited your own soul. For the stone cries out from the wall, and the beam from the woodwork replies. Interpreted, this concerns the priest who, bits missing, that its stones might be laid in oppression, and the beam of its woodwork in robbery. And as for that which he said, by cutting off many peoples, you have forfeited your own soul. Interpreted, this concerns the condemned house, whose judgment God will pronounce in the midst of many peoples. He will bring him thence for judgment, and will declare him guilty in the midst of them, and will chastise him with fire of brimstone. Woe to him who builds a city with blood, and founds a town upon falsehood. Behold, is it not from the Lord of hosts that the peoples shall labour for fire, and the nations shall strive for naught? Interpreted, this concerns the spouter of lies, who led many astray, that he might build his city of vanity with blood, and raise a congregation on deceit, causing many thereby to perform a service of vanity, for the sake of its glory, and to be pregnant with works of deceit, that their labour might be for nothing, and that they might be punished with fire, who vilified and outraged the elect of God. For as the waters cover the sea, so shall the earth be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord. Interpreted, this means that when they return, bits missing, the lies and afterwards knowledge shall be revealed to them abundantly, like the waters of the sea. Woe to him who causes his neighbours to drink, who pours out his venom to make them drunk, that he may gaze on their feast. Interpreted, this concerns the wicked priest who pursued the teacher of righteousness to the house of his exile, that he might confuse him with his venomous fury. And at the time appointed for rest, for the day of atonement, He appeared before them to confuse them and to cause them to stumble on the day of fasting, their Sabbath of repose. You have filled yourself with ignominy for more than with glory. Drink also and stagger. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall come round to you, and shame shall come on your glory. Interpreted, this concerns the priest whose ignominy was greater than his glory, for he did not circumcise the foreskin of his heart, and he walked in the ways of drunkenness, that he might quench his thirst. But the cup of the wrath of God shall confuse him, multiplying his bits missing, and the pain of bits missing. For the violence done to Lebanon shall overwhelm you, and the destruction of the beast shall terrify you, because of the blood of men, and the violence done to the land, the city, and all its inhabitants. Interpreted, this saying concerns the wicked priest, inasmuch as he shall be paid the reward which he himself tendered to the poor. For Lebanon is the council of the community, and the beast are the simple of Judah, who keep the law. As he himself plotted the destruction of the poor, so will God condemn him to destruction. And as for that which he said, because of the blood of the city and the violence done to the land. Interpreted, the city is Jerusalem, where the wicked priest committed abominable deeds and defiled the temple of God. The violence done to the land. These are the cities of Judea, where he robbed the poor of their possessions. Of what use is an idol, that its maker should shape it? A molten image, a fatling of lies? For the craftsman puts his trust in his own creation when he makes dumb idols. Interpreted, this saying concerns all the idols of the nations which they make, so that they may serve and worship them. But they shall not deliver them on the day of judgment. Woe to him who says to wood, awake, and to dumb stone, arise. Can such a thing give guidance? Behold, it is covered with gold and silver, but there is no spirit within it. But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before him. Interpreted, this concerns all the nations which serve stone and wood, but on the day of judgment, God will destroy from the earth all adulterous and wicked men.